We are so close. So close. I could taste it. I could smell it. I could see it. You know what it's like, John? It's like when you take a bite of a really good chicken sandwich and that juicy tenderness comes in at the very end and you're like, yes, that's what I've been waiting for. That's how I feel about next week. And we're so close. We're 1 week away. 1 week. Today is Thursday, April 22nd. Next week will be Thursday, April 29th. We will be watching in Cleveland as the 2021 NFL Draft takes place. And you know who's going to bring you all the live reactions? Perfect fucking Spiral is going to bring you all the live reactions. My name is Joe Miglio. I am fired up today. We are ready to rock on our 9th episode of PSP. What's coming up? I'm going to tell you what's coming up. Segment number 1, we are going to go and we are going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and specifically their head coach because he seems like a goddamn buffoon. His name is Nick Sirianni. I cannot wait to destroy him in our first segment. Really psyched up for that. And then John is going to break down a Tom Peliserro quarterback piece for us that he thought was an interesting nugget. We are then in segment 2 going to go back to our NFL draft coverage, and we are going to break down the last piece of our position breakdown, which is going to be the offensive lineman, done by myself, and the safeties, done by John. And then finally, in segment 3, we are going to give you the 12 teams who need to have a good draft, and then really deep dive into the 5 teams who, more importantly, like groundbreakingly need to have a really good draft. And then we are going to give you, the fans, how we're going to display the NFL draft next week. It's all coming up next on PSP. Let's roll.
You play to win the game.
Touchdown! Can't wait.
John, your face is great right now.
Dallas, you were so fired up.
Your face is
intro.
great.
Holy
Your
shit.
face is great. I mean, welcome everyone. My name is Joe Miglio, and I have my co-host John McCarthy. John, how are we doing today?
I'm energized, man. Holy shit, you just woke me up.
That's what I do, bro. That's what I do. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to roll.
You kept that hidden when you got here. I knew you were jazzed. Like, you did a little jig when you got out of the car. And then I knew you were up to something, and that was what it was.
Listen, I'm a busy guy. I have things I got going on, but I'm always ready for this. I'm ready for us. I'm ready for the fans. I'm
Thursdays.
ready for our followers. Speaking of followers, congratulations to us for finally reaching the 100 mark plateau in our followers on Twitter.
That was fantastic.
It was great. Took us less than 2 months to do that. So
Yeah,
kudos
that
to
was
us, and thank you everybody following us so far. We hope you're enjoying all the content that we're putting out.
Almost 400 downloads.
Almost 400 downloads so far. Hey, that's phenomenal. I did not think that was going to happen. But I just want to reiterate, as we always do, if you're not following Perfect Spiral yet, make sure you're doing so on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google or Deezer or Stitcher, or now on Pandora.
Yes.
You can now find us on Pandora. So we are also on Pandora. Make sure you're giving us that 5-star review and make sure you're rating and subscribing to all of our podcasts. We are very eager to have more fans. We have a new limited series coming out next month, as we spoke about in the last podcast, our NFL Legends series. We are going to be doing a Twitch, as John's going to explain in a couple of minutes, for next week's NFL Draft. And, we're just here to have fun. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have fun. We talk shop for about an hour, and then we go on with our day.
Yeah, it's a great time.
It's a great time. John, tell the folks about what's going on next week with the Twitch for the NFL Draft.
So the Twitch is Perfect Spiral Podcast. Basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a live cam set up of me and Joe. We're gonna be together actually for the draft.
Hell yeah, baby.
And you're gonna see our reactions. You're gonna see Joe cry on the first pick. It's gonna be amazing. And you're gonna get our live reactions for every pick of the first round. So it's gonna be a good time.
Hell yeah. And then what we're going to do also is I believe what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to put that live cam audio on the podcast. Is that what we're going to try to do?
Yeah, we'll either try to get that up on the podcast or on our YouTube. It might that might actually go on our YouTube because we're going to have a reactions pod that actually goes up.
Yes. I didn't think about that. But all right, cool. So with all that being said,
Perfect Spiral on YouTube, by the way.
Perfect Spiral on YouTube. Nice. I like that little tidbit. let's get started here because I feel like we were talking about how we don't have a lot to talk about today because it's like the week before the draft. But I feel like we're gonna have like the stuff we're gonna talk about. We're gonna have a lengthy discussion, right? Let's start off right with I think the news of the week, which was the Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni doing two things. One thing we spoke about. One thing you did. I saw today and I was like flabbergasted. He said that, or what he didn't say really, is that Jalen Hurts is not the presumptive number one starter going into the year. And it's going to be an open quarterback competition.
It's ridiculous.
It is utterly ridiculous. There's nobody as of right now, there's nobody for Hurts to compete with. I mean, fuck, I'll go compete for the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback job if it's open.
Who's the backup? Nate Sudfeld?
I think it's still Mr. Sudfeld is still there. But,
he's really shown a lot over the course of the last 3 years.
But John, give me one reason why Sirianni would do this. One reason.
I don't know if he's trying to play coy about their draft plans, but at the point that they're at, unless someone seriously falls, they traded back. They were in prime position for a quarterback.
Right. They easily could have gotten one of the five guys.
So if you really wanted it to be a competition, there's no free agent quarterbacks left. Like, none that would even make it a competition?
I think the odds of one of the quarterbacks falling is greater than 50%.
Oh, of course.
12. Like, one of the five. I think that's definitely could happen.
But who would they actually want?
So I don't know. I don't even know. But the thing, why would he even say it? Hurts, listen, let's talk about Hurts for a second, right? Hurts was okay.
He was serviceable.
Right? That's a good word. He was serviceable. He didn't light the world on fire. Like, he didn't do what, like, and I'm using this name in vain, he didn't do what Gardner Minshew did in 2019 after Nick Foles got hurt.
But he also, let's be honest, though, Joe, for a second about Jalen Hurts. Who was he really throwing to?
I understand that.
And he had that one game that was absolutely unbelievable.
Was that the game against Dallas?
It was against Dallas. He had a
lot of rushing yards in that game.
He had a lot of rushing yards of passing yards. I think he counted for almost 400 yards of offense.
Right.
I started Jalen Hurts in a fantasy football championship.
I remember that.
He's what you want in a quarterback now, but he definitely needed more time to develop a little bit.
Absolutely.
And he was thrown to the wolves early. And then obviously it was absolutely fucking criminal what Doug Peterson did at the end of the year last year.
I think that's part of the reason why he lost his job. Yeah. The integrity of the game was compromised in that game. Anybody that tells you different is an idiot.
And the stench has followed this organization now. And we're talking about an organization that's 3 years removed from a Super Bowl.
Yep.
You don't just go belly up like that.
And it's funny, like you would think that a team or franchise like the Philadelphia Eagles, you would think that Super Bowl is going to last for like 20 years, right? Like they could do no wrong in the eyes of their fans for 20 years. And it's like, fuck it, who cares? We won a Super Bowl in 2017. It is what it is, right? They have managed to literally, like, I know that the Jaguars really fucked up what they did in 2017, like badly. The Eagles, give them a run for their money. They have literally been battered down to nothing.
And they
bare bones.
Joe, they whiffed on the coaching pick. I don't think Sirianni was a great choice.
But let me bring my second point. Did you see what this special kind of guy said yesterday? Did you hear about this?
No.
He said so they're not allowed to meet with the prospects, right? So they have to do it over Zoom. So he said to gauge his team, the players' competitive toughness, he played rock, paper, scissors with them.
Wait, he really said this?
Honest to God, if you look it up on your phone right now, I'm going to look it up on my phone. I'm going to type in.
Bro, I could play rock, paper, scissors with my dog.
Hold on. Nick Sirianni, rock, paper, scissors. I'm not even...
Joe, that's ridiculous.
Hold on. Fans went wild over Nick Sirianni saying he played rock, paper, scissors with draft prospects.
Yo.
Literally.
I don't even know what to say.
During the team's pre-draft... I'm reading from Philly... Where is this from? I don't know where this is from. PhillyVoice.com, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It says... During the team's pre-draft press conference Wednesday, Eagles general manager Howie Roseman mentioned that Sirianni and his coaches use games to evaluate a prospect's level of competitiveness on their virtual interviews, right? He says, Sirianni then went into greater detail about what he said about what he and his staff have been doing on these Zoom calls, and it caught many by surprise to hear the specific tactics he was utilizing. We didn't go earth-shattering on these games, right? Sirianni said. I played a couple of them at rock, paper, scissors. It was easy as that. Rock, paper, scissors. Let's see how competitive you are. I'm competitive. I'm going to be talking trash to them. Did you talk trash back to me? This is from the article. That's not a misprint. The energetic and enthusiastic Sirianni played rock, paper, scissors with and talked trash to potential draft picks in order to evaluate their competitiveness.
Wow, the Eagles really got a winner here as their head coach. How could you say two really stupid things?
This is a franchise that willingly passed on Eric Bieniemy to hire this guy.
Yeah.
This guy.
Could we just say that half the league passed on Eric Bieniemy?
Yeah, which is a crime in itself.
100%.
You know, Eric Bieniemy, Brian Dable, guy from the Bills who went to the Chargers.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Not Brian Dable. He stayed.
Yeah, he stayed, but still, like he didn't get a good enough offer to leave.
Like, this is who you picked? We realize as fans that this guy was nowhere to be found in any interview circles outside of the Eagles job.
They were thinking that they were reinventing the wheel, Joe. That's what
I just don't know what they're going to do, man. I have no clue what they're going to do.
Who's their target at 12 now? Now that you're saying it's an open competition, who's your target at 12?
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? Like, who are you competing him? There's nobody on the roster to compete with Hurts right now. So if there's no one to compete with him on the roster now, are you going to draft a quarterback? They might not draft a guy in round 1. What if they draft like Sam Ehlinger in like round 4 or Kyle Trask in round 2?
Wow, it's going to be one hell of a competition.
Like, what if they do that? What if they take the wide receiver at 12 and then in round 2 or 3 shock everyone? They take Kellen Mond or Davis Mills or somebody like that. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility to do that.
Yeah, but I think Jalen Hurts beats all of them out.
I mean, he should. But why not give this kid a chance?
Yeah, you traded Carson Wentz. You ruined the relationship with Carson Wentz as an organization.
Right. Think about what happened. Think about what happened last year. Right. Everyone was up in arms. They needed so many needs, and they drafted a quarterback in round 2. Right. And everyone was like, "What the fuck? Why are we taking Hurts?" Well, now Wentz is out of there, and Hurts is your starting quarterback. You're gonna do the same thing this year. You're gonna do the same exact thing this year.
It's criminal.
What kind of a lot of these teams, my team included, right? Your team is one of the few teams that actually does this, I think, really, really well, and it's called stability.
To a fault, yes.
To a fault. There is times when too much stability is no good, but as a franchise, you want to have some sort of stability within your franchise, meaning with your coaches, with your players, with everything. And and now what's happening in Philly is you're noticing is there's constant turnover. Another place that's had constant turnover for years is the Jets. It's how far did that get them, right? The Giants. How many head coaches have they had in the past 10 years, right? Constant turnover is no good. It's no good. And I know that they haven't played a game yet. It's very premature to denounce this guy of a bad job, but let's not forget that when Adam Gase got hired by the Jets, all of New York was like, this guy's gonna suck. And guess what? He was worse than people anticipated he was gonna be. So maybe fans know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's really sad, and I don't. Maybe he just shouldn't give quotes anymore. And honestly, Joe, I don't know what they do at 12. Like you said, there's over a 50% chance that one of these quarterbacks falls. Is it the guy they want? Is it the guy that... Let's say they do draft real quick, and we'll put a bow on the Eagles.
Right.
What if they draft... And we're going to get to the Eagles a little later, actually. A little deeper. Let's just say that they draft a quarterback at 12, and he doesn't win the job. What the fuck was it even for?
I have no idea, which is why I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback at 12.
I don't think so.
Because they can't massively fuck that up that bad. Another thing, too.
They have too many needs.
They move back to 12. You know what that tells me? That tells me the guy that they want at 6, they think, or they like 2 guys, and they think at least one of them's going to make it to 12. neither of those guys was a quarterback, in my opinion. Because you don't trade back to 12 and just say, okay, we're going to take any old quarterback that's there. You want a guy. If you don't have a guy that you want, then you don't have a guy. Right? I mean, essentially.
I think
it's
it's
like
a
saying
receiver.
it's like the old adage. Like if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think. I'm fast. Out of all the 32 picks in the draft, that one is the one that I'm most fascinated with, is what the Eagles are going to do at 12.
I was fascinated with them when they were at 6.
Yeah, that's the one that I am most fascinated with because they're one of like 3 or 4 teams who I genuinely have no idea where they're going to go. Genuinely have no clue where they're going to go. And I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
We'll get into them a little more later.
Yeah. John, why don't, talking about quarterbacks,
Oh, this is
John,
fun.
you were very jazzed about this Tom Peliserro piece that you wanted to do. So I'm going to I'm going to turn it over to you, big guy, and I'm going to let you let the fans in on what Mr. Pelissero, what this piece was and why it intrigued you.
So Tom Peliserro is a really, really, really good reporter for the for NFL Network. And every year he does like a anonymous coaches, scouts, almost like a mailbag, but not really. He just kind of like he interviews different scouts in the circles and different coaches and different GMs, and they give their like brutally honest opinion about prospects. Because, you know, you're anonymous. It just says AFC scout. It doesn't say, or AFC coach. It doesn't name you. Only he knows who it is, of course.
Right.
And a lot of them had some interesting things to say. One of them was about Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh. My boy.
Now,
You're my boy, Blue.
we're way past our quarterback discussion. We're not going to go too deep into it. That if you want to hear our quarterback breakdown, it's episode 6 of Perfect Spiral. But there's some coaches that don't believe, and some people in certain front office circles that don't believe he's a franchise like a generational talent. They believe that he cannot get bored. They believe that he needs to feel greatness because as he's felt greatness his whole life, he's been told he's great. He may struggle with adversity, and this goes back to what we discussed last week when we spoke about the Sports Illustrated piece.
Right.
And Joe made a great point that why would he feel adversity? He's been told he's amazing his whole life. So there's already coaches and GMs that believe this, that he needs to stay engaged. He needs to feel like something's happening. He needs to feel like greatness is there.
Right.
Not saying he won't chase it, but he needs to feel it.
Right.
They do have some concerns about him just as a quarterback, but other than that, I mean, they said Jacksonville, you can't pass on him because if he's a perennial Pro Bowl, you kick yourself in the ass.
Everything I've heard about him from where the criticism comes from is not from his on-field play. It's everything else.
Yeah.
Is he driven enough? Does he have the competitiveness to win? Like stuff that, we question about guys when they have everything.
Yeah.
And
he's one of those guys.
Right.
So it's like it's not a
they look at his tape and they're like,
criticism.
shit, he's really good at everything, so let's go after his character and his personality to see if we could tear him. I don't, it's not just him, but I don't understand how, and I'm going to let you continue in a second. I just don't understand how these experts and analysts can literally go here and just trash a kid's chance at a future before I don't understand that.
It's the business, unfortunately.
I don't get it. I highly disagree with it. Like, there's a kid who's trying to make a living, right? Why are you actively trying to ruin that? Why are you trying to ruin that?
And you know what? Real quick, to compare it to something, let's compare that really quick to Eric Bieniemy. Reports got out that he doesn't interview well. Now you just fucked him out of a job.
Right. It's ridiculous.
So I agree.
Ridiculous.
I agree with you.
So.
I definitely agree with you. The next one is Zach Wilson. These go in order according to, I guess, quarterback rankings.
Right.
They love his arm. These people are absolutely goo gaga over his arm. They love the arm angles. They love the Pat Mahomes-esque talent.
I need a goo gaga drop, Spencer.
But goo guy. But they think he's very, very thin. Very thin.
Interesting.
They think he's thin in the shoulders. He's thin in the waist. And one
hit to the ribs?
Yes, I guess it's one coach. It doesn't exactly say. Says, my man is not a big guy. A college scouting director. This was a college scouting director. He's got thin shoulders. He's got a thin waist. You get a couple of Tremaine Edmonds and Dante Hightowers in your shit, and you ain't lasting long.
Wow. So they're saying he's going to be injury prone.
They say that he can, if he gets hit, it's something. But I mean, they've been saying that about Lamar, but Lamar is so elusive that it's kind of hard to really hit him. But it's kind of funny that they think he's just going to get his shit rocked in the NFL and just be like, that's
wow.
Yeah.
It's one I haven't heard about Wilson before.
Justin Fields, as we know, there was some information that came out yesterday that he is dealing with epilepsy.
Shouldn't affect his draft stock, honestly.
It shouldn't, but I feel like it might slightly. Me personally, you don't think so, but
right.
That's it's a family thing. Everyone his family's had it. They've all outgrown it.
Right.
He said, and he manages it. It's never given him a problem on the field. But still, I mean, epilepsy is a very serious thing.
Right, of course.
To keep in mind. So a lot of people are noticing that he doesn't have to process a lot in the Ohio State offense.
Which is a system thing.
Granted, I will say this because there are aggregators out there, and there's a lot of stuff I've been seeing about Justin Fields that everybody says he's a one-read quarterback. He had one of the highest grades. I think it was 92.9 getting past his first read. So he can get past his first read, but he's not being asked to do a lot. It's a very simplistic offense.
Right.
And scouts are seeing that. They were talking about his hands, but I'm not even going to get into it. They do think he could get past the learning curve of the NFL. Obviously, the intangibles with him are through the roof.
So they're thinking he's more of a raw talent?
More of a raw talent, yeah. So a team might even need to sit.
So maybe that's a guy that may not benefit from starting on day one.
Yeah, he has a chip on his shoulder. He's one of those kids that's going to go out there. He wants it. It just, there's concerns, and now the epilepsy thing is now another concern.
I'm telling you, man, this kid screams Cam Newton to me.
Oh, yeah. The whole film was
Cam Newton to me.
But real quick, let's just I saw, when I did the film breakdown, that was my comp, like, immediately. It's the same player.
Right.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
I don't think it's bad either.
For 7-8 years, Cam Newton was a top 5 quarterback in this league.
Yeah, he was dominant. Like, and I'll be damned.
I would love to have... If you told me Trevor Lawrence was going to be Cam Newton for 8 years, I'll sign. Where's the dotted line? I'll sign right now. He brought him to a goddamn Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'm dropping a hot take here on Perfect Spiral.
Okay. Ooh.
Cam Newton's a Hall of Famer.
Wrong, but nice take.
He hit the mic. He's
very wrong. Very wrong.
He changed the game.
Very wrong. Very wrong.
Changed the game.
Very wrong.
Anyway, that was my hot take for the day. The next one up is Mac Jones.
Freezing cold take, but okay.
Mac Jones is obviously very intelligent. They don't think that the 49ers, that's their target. A lot of scouts, a lot of coaches don't believe you trade that much for him.
Which is crazy to me, right? Like, why would you, there are so many videos I see of Mac, missing throws so much. And I'm like, how is this kid going to go third overall before how does this kid go before Justin Fields? That's what I keep saying to myself.
One scouting director said, you watch him in Mobile, Alabama. Alabama. This doesn't really feel like a big time guy. You trade all that shit for him, and they're questioning it.
Absolutely. I agree. 100% I agree. You love him, though.
I love him. Obviously, his IQ, he's super competitive. He did really, really well in his interviews.
Shocking.
Well, very shocking. Yeah, of course. But obviously, teams are seeing who he played against. In
SEC.
Who he played with. I meant to say.
Okay.
He's played with top-tier wide receiver talent. He has a DUI arrest.
Shut up.
I did not know this, actually. Holy shit.
Get out of here.
He had to answer in the pre-draft process some issues in his past, including trouble controlling his temper, carried over from his youth tennis days to his early tenure at Alabama, as well as a well-publicized DUI arrest as a freshman in 2017.
Really?
Wow. That's interesting.
Did not know that.
A lot of other players, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, all vouch for him.
Of course. That's not surprising.
He's he's pro ready. He's pro ready.
Okay.
He knows where the ball is going pre-snap. He can control the offense. That's the type of offense he ran in Alabama.
Right.
And now to Trey Lance.
John's boy.
So they don't see consistency.
Right.
Which is something that we saw when we looked at him and we watched his tape, was that he wasn't, what's the word for it? He wasn't very
I don't know.
impressive.
Okay.
He's kind of all over the place accuracy-wise. He's talented. Their offense is a lot of one read, find the check down, which is exactly what I saw.
Right.
He also could not find the check down a couple of times. He also could not remember the same play that he ran 3 plays before that was wide open for a touchdown. But everyone, including a couple of people, mentioned to us that I'm watching different tape than everybody else, but I'm sorry. I watched him complete 3 passes in the showcase game. Congratulations. And he's also playing in Division I AA on an undefeated team that's been undefeated for the past 14 years. Congratulations. North Dakota State, shout out. An NFC quarterbacks coach mentions that he missed way too many throws. The game he played this year was atrocious, which was a showcase game.
Atrocious
is what an NFC quarterbacks coach said. It was the first one I watched, and honestly, I couldn't believe this was the guy they were talking about. That's Central fucking Arkansas. That's bad. It's hard to say where this guy's going. What's the best team this guy ever played? James Madison. That's scary. But I will say, everyone you talked about this kid, the makeup is legitimately through the roof, whatever the ceiling is.
James Madison, real quick, is a phenomenal party school.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
I've heard. His interviews were amazing. He's smart. He's a smart motherfucker.
Someone said that on the article?
Yeah, he's fucking throwing to me and you. He throws a pretty deep ball. I think the kid has big upside. But, the question marks are definitely there for him.
It's a lot of potential.
But the question marks are there.
John is going to put this article on our Twitter.
Yes.
So anybody who is interested in reading this, we can. Nice little tidbit about the quarterbacks. I think, obviously, they're the most polarizing players in the draft because they're the quarterbacks. But when we do come back, which is going to be shortly, we're going to talk about the guys who are going to be protecting the quarterbacks and the guys who are going to be picking off passes from the quarterbacks. Safeties and offensive linemen coming up next. All right, and we're back here. Perfect Spiral, episode 9. Joe Miglio and John McCarthy coming at you hot 1 week before the NFL draft. I cannot believe it's so close. And if you're a fan of the NFL like we are, then we do have some news if you haven't heard yet. May 12th, which is a Wednesday, will be the day that the NFL releases their schedule.
Yes.
So schedule release day is May 12th. That is also the night of my rehearsal dinner, so I will be paying close attention to the NFL release at my rehearsal dinner for my wedding. And John, before we get into there was a couple of rule changes. Did you see the big one about the numbers, the number change?
Yeah, that one. There was rumors about that a while ago.
Yeah,
which,
so now quarterbacks.
Here you go, Jose. This is your moment.
Yeah, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and defensive backs, and I think linebackers as well, can wear numbers 1 to 49.
I love that. I love the single-digit college number stuff.
You'd like that?
I like it.
You know who doesn't like it? Tom Brady. Hates it. Literally wrote on his Instagram feed, dumb, in capital letters.
Yeah, and then he put on Twitter about 40 minutes ago, I'd like to speak to the manager.
Oofa.
He's going full Karen.
You think so?
Yeah, Tampa Tom's going full Karen. Tom, who cares? You're going to win the 8th Super Bowl. Just move on.
Yeah. There are a couple of other small ones there. One of them was that they're going to start enforcing penalties on point after tries.
Good luck.
So, like, 2-point conversions. So, like, usually when there's a penalty, they say, okay, this is going to be enforced on the kickoff. Now you could enforce it on the point after.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
So, a little different.
Wasn't there a 4th and 15 rule?
That did not pass. Yeah,
the onside,
the alternative to the onside kick.
Okay.
That did not pass. But let's get into our NFL draft coverage here. Let's go. We got offensive linemen today and safeties. Let's start with the offensive side of the football first, John, I think. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go, there's tackles and there's guards and centers, right? So there's interior offensive linemen and there's exterior offensive linemen. I got on here a couple of weeks back and I said the defensive line was the weakest position of this draft. And I've heard other people say that over the past couple of weeks to just vindicate what I was thinking. It is definitely the weakest spot in this year's draft. Conversely, the offensive line is probably, along with wide receiver, the strongest position in this year's class. So there are usually, we're going to stick to what we're sticking to. I'm going to go break down my top 5. But I will tell you, and I'm going to name them, there are 10, count them. Actually, I should say 9, but pretty much 10 offensive tackles that can be starters in this league. 10 in one draft.
Wow.
So I'm going to count down from 10. I'm going to give you 10 to 6, and then we're going to count down 5 to 1. Okay? Is that cool with you?
That's fine with me.
Beautiful.
I'm ready for the ride.
Love it. So 10. Now these are guys I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to call them my honorable mentions. But these are guys that literally.
Oh, so these are guys you're not going to like deep dive into. You're just like,
right.
Okay.
So number 10 is Jackson Carman out of Clemson. Don't know if he's a day one starter, but he was the guy who blocked for Trevor Lawrence for 3 years.
Okay.
And I think he's definitely a starting caliber player in this league. He's the only one of these 9 guys that I could see not starting day one. All the rest of the 9, I could definitely see starting day one.
Okay.
Number 9, I have Alex Leatherwood from Alabama.
Nice.
Number 8, I have Sam Cosmi out of Texas. And just to give you a tidbit, on my big board, Sam Cosmi is ranked number 41. And he's my 8th ranked tackle on the board.
Yeah, we mocked Leatherwood last week to in the first round.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
Yes. Number 7, I have Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. And number 6, I have Dylan Radins out of North Dakota State as number 6. And I will tell you, numbers 1 through 8 in any combination can go in the first round. Mm-hmm. I don't know if not all 8 of them will go, I don't think, but I could see Cosmi going in round 1 just as much as I could see my number 5 guy going in round 1. So let's go down to number 5. Number 5, I got the factory, the Notre Dame factory coming in here, clutch. Liam Eichenberg I have as my number 5.
Fantastic prospect.
On offensive lineman. And he is a true plug-and-play left tackle. He's a guy that you could put in day one, and you could just say, hey, here you go. Just put him in, let him block, do what he's got to do. Extremely fundamentally sound, much like a lot of Notre Dame guys, Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey, a lot of guys just stand out to us or immediately. The one thing about him that I noticed is he can struggle laterally on the outside with really speedy edge rushers. That's his one little nick. But if you're going head-to-head with him, it's very, very difficult to get past him or get around a guy like that. Extremely good at balancing his body. He doesn't really fall forward or fall backwards that much. He's good. He's got really good footwork in that respect. He's extremely good at pass sets, but is amazing in the run game. And if you notice, a lot of these Notre Dame guys, they like a team like Indianapolis with Quentin Nelson, Frisco with Mike McGlinchey, they run the ball really well because they have a lot of these Notre Dame offensive linemen. He's got really good length and he's really good football IQ. Hand technique is something that he could definitely work on. His pop, I'm going to use that term a lot with these guys. His pop, and what I mean by pop is from the snap to getting his hands up to blocking.
Engagement. Yeah.
Literally, they call it point of attack or power.
Yeah.
I call it pop. And just coming from dirt to chest pad. That's like that. He could work on that a little bit. He's good at it right now, but he could definitely get better. But again, definitely a starting caliber left tackle from day one. My comp for him is actually recently retired Anthony Costanzo out of Indianapolis.
How fitting. Hopefully Indy drafts him.
Well, he could definitely. I could definitely see. Can you imagine two Notre Dame offensive linemen going there?
Yeah, to one of already the best offensive lines of football.
Unbelievable. Number 4 is a guy that I have at 4 now because of his upside. I don't think, in terms of where he is today, I would probably have him around number 7 or 8. Well, because of his upside, I have him at number 4, and that's Tevin Jenkins, I believe, out of Oklahoma State. And yes, out of Oklahoma State. Tevin Jenkins played 3 different offensive line positions in college. He played left guard, left tackle, and right tackle.
Very versatile.
Very versatile. Had his best moments and stats at right tackle. So that's, I think, where teams are going to look to put him in the pros. Not a great athlete. So that's one thing he doesn't have going for him right there. And the thing about these guys, the reason that there's such mysteries sometimes is because and especially in the Big 12 in these Oklahoma States and Oklahomas in these Big 12 schools, they, much like you're mentioning Trey Lance before about how he does these checkdowns and quick hitters and stuff like that, they do the same thing in the Big 12. So the offensive linemen aren't blocking for a long time. So it's really difficult to get a really good read on how they are with lateral movement, with their power, with their anchor points and all this other stuff that they really evaluated on. So it's a little difficult to get that gauge on him. But the really big thing on him is that he's such a big bruising guy, and he really just wants to get you downhill. And I think over the years, he's actually so aggressive that he's going to commit some penalties sometimes because he really wants to he screams Las Vegas Raiders to me, honestly. He screams Vegas Raiders. He really, really does. Not very consistent yet. Young kid, so I'm not really too worried about that. He's extremely patient with his blocks, very much like Le'Veon Bell, but an offensive lineman. He takes his time. He, really sees the field before he decides what he wants to do. Really interesting if you wanted to take a look at some tape. Really good with his hands as well. He's got a lot of, again, his pop is good, and he'll stick with it, and he'll make a good play. My comp for him is Connor Williams, currently of the Dallas Cowboys, because he's a little bit smaller, but he does the job really well.
Last week, Joe did a crazy 3-point stance. I was kind of expecting you to do more of a stance.
My top 3 guys right now, I have all in the top 15. They're all 3 of them are all pro caliber left tackles. Every single one of them. And I would not be shocked if all 3 of them are future Hall of Famers one day. First one is Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech. And I think a lot of these people, a lot of these experts, myself included, I'm not an expert, but myself included, think that he is a lock to go to the Chargers at 13. Oh, absolute lock. I don't think he gets past the Chargers at 13. If he goes before, fine. I don't think he makes it past the Chargers at 13. He is a humongous guy. He's grown every single year. He started as a true freshman, and he went all the way through. He graduated, and he got better every year. He's got very good balance, can get a little top heavy in pass protection, but he works on that. Extremely good footwork for a college prospect. His lateral mobility is really good for zone run schemes. So if you want to go like a guy like an Austin Eckler, who potentially, now I'm going to use the Chargers as an example, who likes to run on the outside of the ball a lot, would be great for a guy like Christian Darrisaw because he closes off the edge really, really well. Really good length, really good hand technique, has a very excellent power off the set, and could really push back a lot of those edge rushers really, really well. My comp for him is DeBrickashaw Ferguson, formerly of the New York Jets. Nice. That's my comp for Christian Darrisaw. And then obviously the number 2 and number 1, everyone knows who's 1 and 2. However, my 2 is Penei Sewell and my number 1 is Rashawn Slater. So I have Penei Sewell at 2, and John's giving me a look right now.
Rashawn Slater would agree with you because he actually just came out and said I'm the best tackle in the draft.
I think he is too. Now the difference between the 2 guys, they both do a lot of the same thing. I'm gonna do them together, right? Because you kind of have to, right? The difference, I think, and the reason I have Slater first is because Slater is so much more versatile than Sewell is. Slater might end up being better as a guard than as a tackle. But he does his football IQ. Think about this. You're able to play all 5 positions on the offensive line. Think about where you have to be mentally to do that. He's so good. Sewell is an ideal left tackle prospect. He's a power run guy. Speed rusher is going to give him a little bit of a problem initially, but he'll be fine with it in the long term. Really, really good in the run game. Good in the pass game, but much better in the run game. Extremely good length. Excellent hand technique. He's going to bury you on every time he touches the ball. And he's his power. He's such a powerful guy that he's going to, it's like, over the course of 48 minutes, they say Derrick Henry overwhelms defenders because he constantly hits them. That's how I feel this guy's going to be. And my mock for him I had was Tyron Smith of Dallas. But I'm going to change it right now because as I was talking about it, there's a guy currently in the league who I think fits his mold better, and that's Trent Williams.
Wow.
Penei Sewell is Trent Williams.
Could we just say really quick, I just want to add to the Penei Sewell breakdown. It's funny because we haven't seen him in over a year.
Him or Slater.
Yeah, they both
opted out.
So
yeah. And the thing about Slater, I already mentioned that he's versatile. I already mentioned that his lateral mobility is excellent. And he's extremely quick from side to side. That's something that Sewell is not good at. That Slater is very good at. And I already mentioned, I think personally he's the smartest offensive lineman in the whole draft. He's going to blow away these teams with his intelligence about the position. The only negative on Slater, which is why I think he might get moved inside at some point, is his length. And teams might actually give him. He's so good that teams are going to give him the opportunity to fail at the left tackle position to move him inside. That's how good he is. He's fantastic. My comp for him is not Trent Williams, but I'm going to give you a guard comp. My comp for him is a Gabe Jackson. So I think Slater is fantastic. I think Sewell is fantastic. I think Darisaw is fantastic. Those three guys are surefire starters in this league. That's my guy.
Excellent breakdown, Joe, of the offensive line.
I'm going to switch over to guard really quickly. Interior offensive lineman. And what I got there, this position is much, much weaker than the offensive tackle position. Much weaker. The interior offensive lineman is not great. I'm not going to go into great detail with a lot of these guys because there's only three guys, in my opinion, that are really day one starters. If that, one of them is two of them are for sure are. The 3 through 5 is a possibility they could be. Number 5, I have Ben Cleveland out of Georgia. Developmental prospect. Really, right now, he's going to be nothing more than a rotational guy. Very good physically. He's got a good physical toughness. Not great balance. Not great lateral mobility. Really not flexible, which is not ideal, especially for a rotational offensive lineman. He's really only good at the right guard position, and that's really it. So that's the only thing about Ben Cleveland. If he goes to a team, I expect him to be a depth piece. I don't really expect him to be a starter in the long term. Number 4, we got Creed Humphrey, who is from the University of Oklahoma. Was there as a guard, but he is an ideal starting center in the league over a couple of years. I don't know if he's a day one starter. Big frame, cover a lot of space. Think Nick Mangold in terms of size. Okay. Right? Whole negative, he's got really short arms. He's got really, almost like dinosaur arms, right? So his
T-Rex arms?
Yeah, he can't extend really well. Very good with his hands, very aggressive. And here's a tidbit about Creed Humphrey. He's a left-handed center. Think about that.
That's kind of weird.
It is weird. You don't really see it. It's like having a left-handed catcher in baseball.
It's like a left-handed quarterback, too. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
So quarterback's going to have to adjust to him being a left-handed center. Huh. Interesting tidbit.
Interesting for sure.
Number 3, I have Wyatt Davis from the University of Ohio State. Davis is a guy who could start day one. You plug and play right guard. Very powerful. Probably the most powerful guard in the whole draft. Very good in his zone scheme. In his zone scheme, he'll struggle in a gap scheme, but he's very good in his zone scheme. I think he's like a West Coast offense type of lineman. I think he'd be better suited with. Very little flexibility, much like Cleveland. He's a right guard, and that's it. So a team that has a need at right guard, it should be a team that's drafting him. They shouldn't be drafting him for positional flexibility. Number 2 is Landon Dickerson from the University of Alabama. He's my number 2. Dickerson literally played all 5 positions in college on the offensive line. Literally All 5.
In the SEC.
In the SEC. Very good balance. Can be very overwhelming to his defense to the defensive lineman at times. Much like Sewell in that respect. Very good football IQ. Obviously, he played all 5 positions. The biggest knock on him is his durability. He's had not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 injuries in college. 4, including a torn ACL. So that's his biggest knock. If he could stay healthy, I'm telling you right now, if he didn't have any injuries, he'd probably be a first-round pick. But because of all the durability concerns, he's probably going to go day 2. And number 1, I think unanimously, is Elijah Vera Tucker out of USC. He's a guy that should go in the first round. I'm not crazy about him because he doesn't have big hands. He's got really short arms. I don't know how he's going to be able to extend that great. The thing about him is he's got the best side-to-side movement of any offensive lineman in this draft. He is excellent going from left to right. He's a guy that you'll be able to put on your speed edge rusher to contain him. That's the type of guy Elijah Vera Tucker is going to be. I could see him going in the back end of the first round.
Yeah, we mocked him a few times to the back end of the first round.
Yep.
I think one of them we had him going to New Orleans.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
That might have been a speed mock. I don't remember exactly.
That is my breakdown for the offensive line.
Great job, Joe.
Thank you so much. I had a really fun time doing this.
You always, I'm glad I didn't go first this time because your breakdowns are always so much more in detail than mine are. Mine are like pretty quick.
Hey, listen, we feed off each other, bro.
So I covered the safeties, and I'm gonna go from 5 to 1, and then I'm gonna highlight a couple of safeties.
Okay.
Number 5 is Javon Holland out of Oregon. He's young. But showed a lot of promise. He started as a freshman year, sophomore year. He had an 89.6 coverage grade as a freshman and 85.3 as a sophomore with 20 combined picks and pass breakups. It's pretty good for a young safety. Number 4 is Richie Grant out of UCF.
I like Richie Grant a lot.
Richie Grant is the most seasoned player. Mm-hmm. He's played over 2,600 snaps in college.
Wow.
He has a 90 coverage grade. Very, very, very experienced, very versatile. I could see him, when it's all said and done, probably being the best safety in the class.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you can't put a...
See, now that's a hot take.
It is a little bit, but he's the most experienced, and with time, you start to realize different things, and like you start to realize different coverages, different schemes. I mean, yeah, he played at UCF, but UCF was pretty damn good the last couple of years.
Absolutely,
except for last year, they're pretty good. Number 3, I have Jamar Johnson out of Indiana. High-end player. Very, very good ball production per snap.
Late bloomer.
Yes, very late bloomer. But he is a liability as a tackler. He's not a great tackler.
Oofa.
Yeah.
That's a safety?
Yeah, he's not great. He missed 13 out of his 49 attempts to tackle.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, it's not great. Number 2 is Elijah Molden. Gold standard in the slot.
Where is he from?
He is from Washington.
Really?
Yeah. 90 coverage grade in 2019 and an 86.2 last year. Little undersized to stay outside, but he's a physical tackler. He'll make you pay.
You know who you're talking about here?
Who?
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
That's who you're describing.
Oh, Honey Badger. He's so good. Sweet Honey Badger. And number 1, far and away, is Trevon Moehrig out of TCU. Trevon Moehrig at 6'2", 202 pounds. Big guy. He led all safeties in pass breakups and interceptions. It's some of the best ball production you'd see out of safety prospect.
I really like Moehrig a lot.
He's fantastic. His tape really jumps out at you. He's just all over the field. So that's my quick safety breakdown.
Hey, listen. Sometimes we like it short and sweet. Sometimes we like it, slow and in depth. It works. They're both deadly, and I agree with. But after hearing what you had to say, I would easily move Grant up to number 2, and I would probably move Johnson down to number 5. Johnson seems like he'd be better as a corner than a safety.
Yeah, because he struggles as a safety, which I could see a team moving him to corner.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. All right, folks.
That's it for all our coverage.
We
for the
have
draft.
covered We've covered quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive and defensive line, linebackers, corners, and safeties. If you want breakdowns on kickers and punters, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Because we're not doing that. But
not happening.
that's it. This has been fun. I really enjoyed doing this breakdown. Next year, now that we've gotten a little bit seasoned, next year we could get started on it much earlier than this year.
Way earlier than
Much
we did this year.
earlier.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we're going to quickly discuss the 5 teams that need to have a good draft. Be right back. All right, and welcome to segment 3, presented by Taco Bell. No, it's not presented by Taco Bell. I always wanted to say that. Thought it would be pretty cool.
The Quesalupa Supreme.
But what we got coming up here next, John and I, we're actually going to give you a bonus team. We're going to give you 6 here. We're going to go.
Teased you. We said 5 the whole time. It's actually 6.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 6 teams, not in any particular order. The 6 teams. Well, let's be clear. There are 12 teams that need to have a good draft. John, who are the 12 teams that need to have a good draft this year?
So, and again, when we go to the 6, we're not going to give them to you in any particular order. We're gonna just talk about teams. So the 12 teams that we have that we feel need to have the best draft are the Jets, Ravens, Bengals, Jaguars, Raiders, Broncos, Giants, Eagles, Chicago, Minnesota, Carolina, and the 49ers.
Okay, interesting.
And now the 6 that we're going to highlight.
Right, who do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the Bengals because you have a little bit of insider info that you'd like
I
to
do
discuss.
have a little bit of inside information about the Bengals here. So the Bengals, I feel like, need to have a good draft for a couple of reasons. They need to have a good draft because I can tell you with confidence that that coaching staff is on the hot seat this year. They did not really make a lot of improvements record-wise from year 1 to year 2. Even before Burrow got hurt, they were 1-6,
Yeah,
something like that.
they weren't great.
So they were more competitive, but
they were
weren't
1-5-1.
1-5-1. You're right.
Yeah, that tie with Philly.
They were competing, but they weren't finishing, right? Which is, expected of a young team. But I can tell you with confidence the Bengals need to have a good draft. And I could also tell you, I'm a little information here.
This is like real insider information.
Legitimate information here. That Joe Burrow wants Jamar Chase as the number 5 pick. I could also tell you that the Bengals staff wants Penei Sewell. Literally, it's there, and both sides are very, very, very eager to get the guy that they want. So, interestingly enough, it seems like the quarterback and the coaching staff are on different sides of the spectrum on who they want. Now, is Burrow going to be angry if the Bengals don't take Jamar Chase and take Penei Sewell? I do not think so. Because I think he understands that to do well, you need to be protected.
Yes.
But I also think that he thinks that he'll be a better quarterback if he has his favorite target from college on the same team as him. So it's a really interesting dynamic of what the Bengals are going to do at 5. Gun to my head, I think they're taking Sewell.
I think so too.
Gun to my head, I think they're taking Sewell. I don't think they're going to take Chase. As much as Burrow wants Chase, I think they're going to talk him down. But it's just an interesting tidbit that, essentially the coaching staff and the quarterback are really not aligned on who they want to take at 5, which is kind of a big deal, I think. I don't want to understate that. Like, your franchise quarterback wants a guy and the team wants a completely separate. It's not like we're comparing Jalen Waddle to Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah.
We're comparing Jamar Chase to Penei Sewell, guys who play different positions and do very different things.
And honestly, that team, Penei Sewell, is infinitely more valuable to that team right now
Without
than
question.
Jamar Chase would be. As Jamar Chase is one of the best wide receiver prospects.
Let me be clear. The Bengals organization is completely in the right to want Penei Sewell. Joe Burrow is 100% in the wrong to want Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I mean, you should just look at his knee and figure out why he
100%.
needs Penei Sewell. But and why this is important, I mean, and why we highlight the Bengals is because this is going to make their whole draft. If you draft Penei Sewell at 5, you are committing to a change of philosophy
100%.
in that front office. And that is very, very important.
Not only that, they could draft a very capable wide receiver in round 2.
Oh, wide receiver is so deep.
They could get Elijah Moore. They could get Rondale Moore. They
Rashad Bateman.
They could get Rashad Bateman if he falls. Terrence Marshall if he's not drafted in the first round. They could get a bunch. And not to mention, they already have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Not like they have nobody there.
Yeah, no, they.
I would
that's
argue.
no slouch.
I would argue they need more of a tight end than they need a wide receiver.
I'd even think it would be crazy if they took Pitts at 5. I'm sorry. I think they need to take the tackle.
That would be crazy. That would be something.
It would be interesting. I'm not going to say I would.
Because Pitts is not really a blocking tight end either.
No, he's not.
He's more of just a pure receiving tight end.
I still don't like it. You have to take Sewell.
Absolutely.
Another team that we're going to highlight today is I'll let Joe get into the Jaguars. Joe, tell us why the Jaguars need to have an important draft.
Oh, well, I mean, they were 1-15 last year. They were 1-15 this year, but honestly, like, you know, and I know people have said it ad nauseum, but I'm going to repeat it because it's the truth. This is the most important draft in their franchise history, and it's not even close. This is like there was the expansion draft, obviously, and now there's this draft. And this draft is more important than that expansion draft because you have a guy at the top of the draft who has been widely regarded for 3 years, right? He was the number 1 projected pick for 3 years for when he was going to come out. This hasn't changed. It's not a Joe Burrow situation or like, you know, a Zach Wilson situation where these guys just came on, or a Baker Mayfield situation where these guys just came on the scene for a year. For 3 years, this guy has been the presumptive number 1 pick, okay? They have an opportunity to change their franchise forever. Forever. I cannot understate that. At the very minimum, if they get this right, and not just with Trevor, all right, they have 4 picks in between picks 25 to 60. That's 35 selections, and they have 4 of them. Okay? That is insanely valuable. It's insanely valuable. You have 4 guys you're going to take in rounds 1 and 2. And Urban Meyer yesterday at a pre-draft interview said the guys inside those picks, they have 5 picks between 1 to 60. He said he wants immediate impact players from 1 to 60. So he wants to find 5 guys who are going to make impacts day 1, which tells me 2 things. 1, they're not going to take any project players, obviously, right? So they're not going to take a guy who's going to take time to develop day 1. He's going to take guys, right? Obviously, they're going to take Lawrence at 1. He's a step-in starter, right? I don't think they're going to take an offensive lineman with any of those picks. I don't. Because all the ones who are surefire starters are going to be gone by that point. So I could see them taking a Trevon Moehrig at 25. I could see them taking a Christian Barmore. I could see them taking a Kadarius Toney. I could see them taking a Pat Freiermuth. All these guys that we have talked about for months, that I've talked about for months, the Jaguars taking is who I think they're going to take. And it's just so important for them to have a good draft because it's going to shape the direction of this franchise for years to come. Years to come.
And that's a nice segue because the next team is almost in the same boat as the Jaguars, and that is the New York Jets.
Absolutely.
The New York Jets are restarting now for the 4th time since the Mark Sanchez era? 3rd time since the Mark Sanchez era? They traded Sam Darnold, who they never gave a fair shot at quarterback to. And now you're restarting it too. And they're going to take Zach Wilson, and you have another pick in the first round. What did they pick again? I think it was like 22 they picked?
23.
23 they pick. You need to start off hot for this guy. You have to get him some more offensive talent. You have Mekhi Becton. You drafted the big offensive tackle last year. You got to make some moves. That team has a lot of holes. They're not going to compete right away, but it's important to get it started right because next year they're going to have even more picks. And
they have next year. They have 2 more first-round picks next year.
And Joe Douglas has had all the time in the world now, but now this is Joe Douglas's coach. This is Joe Douglas's quarterback. And Joe Douglas needs to take this draft by the horns and really own it this year.
100% agree. Couldn't agree with you more.
And you know what? They're not going to compete right away, but if they show some sediment of relevancy and some competence, Jet fans will be happy. I think I could speak for Jet fans that if they just saw a level of
competence,
they'd be happy.
Absolutely. You want to see the franchise start to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You want to see a culture change. That's what you want. Always teams talk about culture all the time. And, like, I didn't believe it. I really didn't believe it until I started watching the Knicks this year.
Yeah, and Leon Rose,
I swear
Tom
to God.
Thibodeau,
Right.
Major culture shock. They know what they're doing now.
Clearly, you're watching it.
Yeah.
8 games and going, baby! Sorry.
New York basketball's back.
It's back. It is back.
Brooklyn's losing to the Lakers in the finals.
Jesus.
Lakers in 5. So the next team that we're going to discuss is a team that we got a little bit earlier, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
Philadelphia is in total disarray. They need almost everything on the field. And after Nick Sirianni's comments, they need to have an even more important draft. They cannot botch this. They made a move to trade back. They traded Carson Wentz. They gave up draft capital for next year. They may not have a first-round pick next year. This year is important.
Depending on Carson Wentz.
Which, I mean, granted, you'd hope he plays 75% of the snaps.
Right.
This is important because you can go from being a team that has a chance to the Texans real quick.
That's a fucking great point.
That's what could happen here.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that, but you're so fucking right.
Yeah. They have a chance. And if you fuck this chance up, you're going to be like Houston.
And you know what's crazy, too, about them is because that division is so wide open.
Wide open.
Where they could literally go from worst to first this year if they get it right.
They could probably make the playoffs at 8-8.
So that's, oh my God. That resonated.
I mean, granted, we've been talking a lot about Washington, but I mean, I got to see Fitzpatrick do something.
Right, of course. I understand.
But yeah, they could go, really that's what
good.
could happen to them.
That was really good.
Number 5, and I'll let you take this one,
Sure.
Joe, is the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I think, listen, the Bears are in that really, really weird limbo state right now where they're competitive, but like, and they're like a fringe playoff team, but
Band-Aid at the quarterback
right,
position.
but you know they're not going anywhere. You know, and they're like they're one of these teams where I think it's time they just strip it down. You strip it down. You completely fucked up the Mitchell Trubisky pick, right? He was not the right guy. And, you know, this is the reality of the NFL. You had the number 2 pick, right? You took Mitchell Trubisky. You could have had Deshaun Watson, right? They could have picked Deshaun Watson.
Who else could they have had, Joe? Not just Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes, Patty Mahomes too, right? So you picked wrong. And the thing about this league is if you pick wrong at the quarterback position, it sets your franchise back years.
And it's still
years.
It's haunting them.
Absolutely. And it's not like they're a bad team, right? Like I said, they're a fringe playoff team, right? But look, realistically, where are the Bears going with Andy Dalton? Where are they going with Andy Dalton? Nowhere. So why not just literally start over? And the first step to start over is in this draft. Start drafting offensive linemen. Start drafting defensive linemen. Draft corners. Draft everything. Draft all the exteriors. And then during the season at the trade deadline, trade Khalil Mack. Trade Eddie Jackson. Trade Allen Robinson. Get rid of them all. Can you imagine the haul they would get for Allen Robinson, Khalil Mack, and Eddie Jackson?
It would be enough to jumpstart your franchise.
Are you kidding me? Like, those guys are nice players. They're really nice players. I love Allen Robinson.
I love Khalil Mack.
Right, but they're just in a spot right now where there's no success in sight.
They're wasting away on that.
There's none. There's no success, no real success in sight.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm sorry, they got to get rid of the coach too. They got to completely start over. And this is an opportunity for them to start over.
Yeah.
Real opportunity for them to start over.
The final team to put the official bow on our 2020 draft coverage for Perfect Spiral is the San Francisco 49ers.
The Gold Diggers.
This team, another team, not far removed from a Super Bowl.
Right.
The roster still pretty much intact.
It's pretty good. They've just been hella hurt.
Very hurt. A lot of veterans gone from this team. Richard Sherman, one of them.
Right.
they need to, one, make sure that they are drafting the quarterback of the future and their new franchise quarterback at 3, and they need to be really sure about this pick.
Right. Agreed.
Reports are all over the place.
Very similar to what we just talked about with the Bears.
Yeah, I've seen reports that it's... And mind you, they still have Jimmy G and plan on holding on to him.
Right.
Which, again, it's weird. They should have
He
traded
knows
him,
he's
but-
on a rental.
Yeah, he knows he's on a rental. And Jimmy G, I guess the jury's still out on him. I mean, I think we've seen enough to see what he is. At 3, they need to nail this pick. And I'm seeing Mac Jones. I'm seeing Justin Fields. And I'm seeing Trey Lance. I love Mac Jones at 3. Would it be a weird pick for most people? Yes. Because you don't trade all that away.
So you like Mac Jones. I like them. I would want them to take Justin Fields.
Yeah, take Justin Fields. Trey Lance would be way out of left field.
Yes.
Because Trey Lance is just nowhere near ready. And to give up all that for Trey Lance doesn't make much sense to me. It doesn't make much sense to me to give up that much for
It makes sense in
Mac Jones.
It
either,
makes
but-
sense in the respect where there's a guy they could draft who could sit for a year and learn from a quarterback who, like Jimmy G, who's going to play all year.
Yeah.
Right? And then you give the reins over to Lance the following season.
What's crazy is that if Jimmy G plays and that team's healthy,
They're probably they're a playoff team.
they're a playoff team and they're dangerous. Because that defensive line is still
I
scary.
agree.
So they need to have an important draft because the rich get richer. You're up at 3. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan. You guys can't mess this up. Like,
You're right. If they draft the wrong guy, they literally could end up being the Bears.
Yeah, and they're going to set themselves back.
Right.
Again, another team, and not to use the analogy again, but another team that could become Houston. They won't have first-round picks the next 2 years.
Yeah.
I know that there's this sentiment in the league where teams don't believe in first-round picks.
The Rams.
The Rams, Seattle. But you know what? After a while, and Seattle, I'm talking to you, it starts to wear on your fucking team. Because you're not bringing mega talent. You're not bringing that one guy every year, that one guy that could change your franchise into the building every single year.
Right.
You're just not.
I hear you.
So it could set them back a bit. But, yeah, I mean, hey, that puts the bow on the draft coverage.
We want to thank everybody who has been following us during this draft coverage. We are going to be on Twitch next Thursday. I want to say we're going to start at 6. What time is the draft? 8 o'clock?
Oh, man, I don't know.
I think it's at 8. If it's at 8, we will be on a half hour before the draft.
Yeah,
starts.
regardless, we'll be on a half hour before the draft. We'll
And
be live.
we'll-
Working out all the kinks and stuff.
Absolutely. So we'll tweet out all week next week where we're going to be for the draft. John and I are going to be excited. The Jaguars have pick 1 and 25. The Vikings have pick number 14. So we will definitely be excited for that. And then after that, we'll have our reactions pod. And then I think I am going to have to take a little break because I'm getting married in the middle of
The show goes on.
the middle of May. But I believe we're gonna have a special guest
Yes.
do a pod
We'll
for
have
a week.
we'll have a fill-in host.
And then I think after I get back from the wedding, we're going to start the Legend series.
Yes.
So got a lot of stuff coming up. Really excited. Hope everybody's ready. There's a lot coming on. John, any last words before we dip?
No, man, I'm good. I'm gonna cruise until next week.
All right, my friend. For Johnny McCarthy, J-Mac, J-Dog, the Big Easy. Wow. I'm Joe Miglio. Spiral.